convene the canvas board for certification of the general election.
Okay, and I do have the official results that are all on the correct forms.
We had them in our packet.
You did. And I think that Brad wants us to start approving these by motion and a vote of the canvassing board.
Okay. Okay, this would be,
I think you can do you can do them all as a group. You could just do, make a motion to certify the election results
for the
as canvassed for the general
for-
election.
For general election for county, city.
Yeah,
Okay.
the November 5th, 2019 general election.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we certify the results of the November 5th general election for the county, city, school, and statewide special question.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Were you an in favor vote,
Yeah.
Randy?
Aye.
Okay, 3 in favor.
3-0.
Okay. All right, so then they're just going to sign off on the paperwork, and you can do that when you're here later, Randy?
Okay, yes, I
Okay,
will.
and then there will be a formal adjournment of the canvas.
Okay, do we sign off on this?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, there is.
go ahead, Joe.
And there are multiple pages, so there's one page for every type of race.
Gotcha, yeah, it's good.
All right.
And you can just hand it over to me.
Alrighty.
I'll put my X. Morning, Dave.
Need a rubber stamp, huh?
All right, we got that right.
I'm just gonna do this so we don't get them messed up.
Normally I send us mail. There you go.
Okay.
Just go on top of it.
Oh, okay.
You see where to sign.
For all city.
You don't have to sign it this time, Diane.
I know, it's
They're all
fun.
city.
Yeah, it's the
Just sitting here watching.
That's the next batch.
City, oh, this is city.
Yeah, this is county on the front, and the
Okay.
city starts on the back.
Okay.
And then the rest of the city.
School.
Question.
There's one on the back for improvement districts
Okay.
also.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, then I think we just need, looks like everything is signed,
Okay.
so we just need a motion and a vote to adjourn the campus.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and
Second.
adjourn the canvass of the general election. Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll get ready for the next meeting.
All right,
Bye,
How
Randy.
you doing? You too.
see you.
Morning.
Hi.
Okay. Sorry, I think you rolled over my cord here.
No, okay, hold on.
There we go. Need to do something a little bit better with the cords in here now that we have furniture.
Next week.
Okay.
Paid in full.
Up. Fine, and that's what you were paying.
Taxes.
I could have gave you a stack more.
Well, you know,
Yes, it is. It's 8:59.
Still forget, so sign some of it, too. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and commence the meeting with invocation by Henry, followed by the flag salute. Would you all stand, please?
Father in heaven, we praise your holy name. Lord, come today. Bring your guidance, your light, and your truth. Welcome our new commissioners to their new positions. Guide them, help them to become part of a well-trained team that functions for the betterment of our county, the betterment of our citizens. Help them to govern of the people, by the people, and for the people. Lord, we thank you for the blessings that you bestow upon us. The blessing of being citizens of Marion County, of Kansas, and of the United States. Lord, again, thank you for the multitude of blessings you give us, and especially that great gift that your Son Jesus gives to us, our salvation. Lord, I offer this prayer in the name of your Son Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on behalf of Marion County and the Marion County Commission, I want to welcome our two new members, Dave Profoot and Jonah Garing. We want to thank you for your interest in county government and your willingness to run for the office and to serve. And we look forward as a commission to working together for the betterment of Marion County. So again, welcome. This time, administrative business.
Okay. The first thing that I have are the minutes of the November 4th meeting.
Okay, you have time to review those. Any questions?
I'll go ahead and approve the minutes as written.
Oh, okay, Diane's made a motion to approve the November 4th minutes as written, and I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Four of them.
Okay. I'll have to get that folder and bring it in here. I didn't bring it with my
Okay.
regular stack today. In your packet, there is some information about the North Central Flint Hills Area Agency on Aging, that Sue Clow is going to be finishing up her term. And then there's a second letter in there, basically that kind of outlines what the duties are. And the senior citizens of Marion County, that board will typically provide a nomination to you all. So we haven't received anything like that yet. The letter in here that was in your packet also said that if you want to nominate someone yourselves and not wait for their nomination, you can do that. So
So if any of you know of some person that'd be willing, senior citizen would be willing to serve on that board, you could bring it to the commission.
What would that entail of that individual? What would,
the responsibilities are in the packet
In the
with the
packet,
list
so you
there.
yeah.
And I can make a paper copy if you'd like. It's on page 32 of your packet.
Yeah.
Okay. But basically, the Senior Citizens Board meets together. The things that are listed here are they determine how the organization carries out its mission, they approve area plan for the aging services, they recruit and help train up the board members, they hire and evaluate the performance of the executive director of that organization. And then there's some other things listed that are shared duties. So it does say the time demands in here also. So there are 6 bi-monthly board meetings, and there's committee work, the senior fair, and it looks like evaluating at least 1 senior center. So that's the type
So
of
they need to
commitment.
be fairly mobile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. In your packet, there's also another piece of information is for a retirement reception for Bud Druce, which would be on November 20th, which is Wednesday, I believe, from 1 to 3, and that is being held at the new transfer building office. In your packet, you do have the monthly clerk's report. And budget reports.
Diane, do you have any questions on
I have just one question on that one, and when I got my copy, some of the pages are printed really nice, some of them are rather very light.
Okay.
So it's, if I'm reading this wrong, just correct me as I do, but I did have one question on that, and that is, as of October the 31st, on the Risk Management Reserve Fund, we had $438,459,000, and I noticed here now that the unencumbered balance is $248,846, and I was just wondering where that difference came from, or am I missing something here? Maybe
You might be
a page or
missing something. I don't know if we've made all the transfers in there. The one is a budget number. I'm trying to.
Yeah, and I see that it doesn't show that there was any expenditures or any,
Right. So-
anything, so that's why I'm asking where
What
the
page is that
difference
on?
would be. It is actually on page 14 of,
Okay, so there's.
The entire package or reports?
yes, but then I also brought with me what I'm referring to back is as of October the 31st is where I see and the balance.
It should be the same, isn't it?
Well, the balance was consistent forever, for a long time at the 438,000, but now it went down to the 248. So from
I think
400
you might be looking at budget versus cash, because we put a budgeted number in there based on when we did our budget planning, right?
It says reserve, so I'm not
Okay.
sure.
I'm trying to find the page, just a second. Because these reports reflect both the, so
Are
if
you
you're
trying to
looking at the
find-
interim statement of expenditures, encumbrances, and appropriations on page 14,
Correct.
that unencumbered balance is the actual dollar amount that's in there. When you look at the budget report, we budgeted, I believe for 2020, the 486 in there. But that money has to be transferred in at some point, and it has not occurred yet, so.
Okay, well, this is the first time that I've ever seen a drop from month to month to month.
I think
It
you're
always
maybe
seems the same,
comparing
so-
two different reports. But if you would like to, we can go through it. I can
Actually,
pull
I
information
would,
for you.
because I would like to keep track of that.
Sure,
So,
that? That
yeah.
transfer would have to come from general fund, right?
yes. So, usually we would do that at the end of the year.
As it stands, we're under budget.
Well,
Basically, is the way I'm hearing it.
On this particular fund, we have this, gosh, I can prepare a full report on this fund for you for the next meeting,
Yeah, why
so
don't
that
we
you
do
have a
that
good
for the new-
understanding
for
of
the
it.
new commission?
Yeah, but for this particular fund, we had a certain balance in there, which was under 100,000, I believe. When we prepared the budget the last time, Scott Lloyd had recommended that we capture part of our increase for under the tax lid that could be put into this fund for disaster situations, for instance, to help cover gravel on roads if FEMA doesn't reimburse, things like that for the flooding. So we could use some of that money for that. So we transferred money in there last year. And then there's another amount that when we prepared the budget for 2020, that that he recommended transferring in there. So by that time, we should have $400 and some odd thousand in there. But the caveat of that is The only amount that we can freely spend on anything other than a disaster is the amount that was in there before the tax lid. And so it's kind of a complex situation, but I will get all the numbers and the reports and be able to track that back for you at the next meeting. That way it'll be, because I think we might be comparing apples and oranges on the reports there, so. Did you have another question?
Okay.
I'm just making myself a note so I don't forget to do that for you all. But there has been no money spent on risk management.
Any other questions of the financial report? If not, move ahead.
Okay. Let's see if I can get through these pages. I do have some salary sheets, and we have not updated these forms yet. These were signed before the new commissioners took office, so I think just sign on the line beside another signature for now. And we will have them updated before we have any new ones.
Okay, the first one is Brandon Meyerhoff, Planning and Zoning. 1 year raise as Planning and Zoning Assistant from 2102 to 2142.
Oh, that's to sign too.
Yep.
Yeah, and you might just divide those two lines below into half.
Just make room for someone else to
Yeah.
sign. The next one we have is in the Register of Deeds office. It's for Joe Ottensmeyer, part-time to full-time Deputy Register of Deeds, 6-month and 1 year raise from $10 an hour to $2,723 per month. The next one is the Sheriff's Office, Sarah Cope, 10-year longevity raise from $28.32 to $29.36 per month. And from the jail, Peyton Heidebrecht, a 1 year raise as a corrections officer from $13.33 to $13.59. Treasurer's Office, Leslie Metter, 1 year raise as Assistant Driver's License Examiner from 2102 to 2142 a year. Month, excuse me, month.
Got a deal there.
The next one is Appraiser's Office, Montana Purcell, 1 year raise as an Appraiser 1 from $1,914 per month to $1,952. And from the Appraiser's Office, Michelle Linda, 1 year raise as a Personal Property Coordinator from 2102 to 2142.
did have a request from a citizen to use the tourism bus. This is, I think, the third or fourth time that this individual has used it. They are requesting to use it for their Christmas light tour out at the county lake. They have put down a deposit as is required. They have followed all the regulations pertaining to the bus, and I believe that they're requesting it for December 13th.
The bus is still roadworthy?
Well, we'll have Road and Bridge. What we usually do is
That's
have
up to
Road and
Brian.
Bridge check it out, make sure everything is functioning properly, and
By when?
December 13th. Yeah.
Commission? Any opposition to that?
I have,
It needs to be used.
I have no opposition, but I just asked that Road and Bridge be diligent on it, because I know last time we did use it out, and there were a lot of lights and things that actually were not working.
Right.
So we do need to be a little more diligent in that
Sits
repair.
all year.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So this would be for, here's the request here. And I think that would be by motion and a vote to approve that.
Okay. This is I'll go ahead then and make a motion to allow the Marion County Tourism Bus to be used for a special event on December 13th.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0.
Okay. Thank you. In front of you, I have put some just examples of different designs for stationery. Generally, the county commissioners have all been on the county clerk's stationery, and so the original proof is on top that we got back, just adding the two new commissioners' names. But then there's also the option of if you want to separate to your own stationery, and then kind of how you want that laid out. And we will proofread once we have a proof back to make sure that the districts and spellings and the commissioners' names are correct.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, instead of just making that decision, I thought I would ask you all how you would like it. And that was on the table, under your agenda this morning.
Trying to figure out where I misplaced it and saw it already.
Okay, you might look at that and see if there's any preference. I don't have any preference.
I don't have any real preference. It's kind of nice to see the different districts. In saying that, there is a clerical error.
All right, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
And I agree with Joan, I do kind of have the real preference, but I do like the idea of the difference of keeping them separate. Just adds a little bit more professionalism, separation a little bit.
Separate as in,
Yes.
Commissioners
The clerks
having-
from the commission, yes.
okay.
I like the very last one. Kind of divided out. What else is the very last picture?
Okay. Dave's recommending the last one. Any preference on that?
Pleasing to the eye.
So it's
With the
got-
districts, make sure we have the districts listed.
The districts
Yeah.
after the,
Yep.
yeah,
That's fine with me.
leave it up to the advertising guy. I'll second that.
Okay.
We need to make a motion.
I don't think so
Okay.
for that. We'll just go with reference, unless anyone has a disagreement about it. I don't know if I have those. Actually, I didn't keep a copy for myself. Okay, so is the consensus then of the board to do the very last one with the separation of the commissioners from, away from the clerk's letterhead, with the Board of County Commissioners listed on the left, the commissioners' names and their districts on the right? Okay. Within the correct districts, yes. Okay.
The districts in order, the names on the one.
Yeah. That was just probably when they were playing around with it, it got a little tweaked there. Okay, that was all the administrative business that I have for this morning.
Okay. Moving on. Road Bridge. Rush.
Good morning. new commissioners. Well, start off with some bad news, I guess. Given the authority to bid for the quail mower, we did not get it. Bummer. So I am keeping tabs to see if there's anything coming up in the next several months. So we'll leave that. On a bigger negative note, KDOT has told us that we did not get any of the cost share money. At 35%, I still cannot believe we didn't get that. I did call her up and said, what do we have to do to get money? She said, the only thing that we can think that would help out is to get letters of support from the community. So I said, from who? This is just a road. School districts, fire districts, whatever else. And so I'm going to go back and do that. The next time to submit is the next time they're going to select. They left $10 million out of the 61 for March. So, excuse me, I'm going to go back and do that, get things resubmitted for March, see if we can get money back that way at the 35%. So, unless there's anything else that the commission would like to do differently, I mean, 35% I think is a huge match anyway, but it does bring up the issue that I guess to get your input on how you want to proceed now. If we wait until March for the selection time, it's liable to be, mid to end of April before we get approval. And then if we start going from there to let out a contract, I don't know if we would get it done next year based on the schedule. Now's the time to get these guys scheduled for next year because they're trying to fill up their schedules for next year. So based on that, I left the papers down there. The Nighthawk project, we had asked the state for about 1.8 million on top of the amount that we were going to do. So all things considered, without doing anything else, that'd be the amount that we would have to fund ourselves if we wanted to do it without the cost share. So I can save a little bit of money. I had actually worked up the cost estimate based on a double chip seal after the full depth reclamation was done. We could get by with probably a single chip seal if we were to go back and do something the next year after that or whether it be another chip seal or an overlay, whatever the case may be, but at least we'd be able to save the base. So
That would be included with doing the base.
Yes.
Before we ever did anything.
yes, I don't need an answer right away, but obviously it's something that you guys want to think about, or we can discuss it here. It's just that, again, the longer I wait to get something out there, the other thing that comes into play is part of the work that needs to be done out there that needs to be done before this full depth reclamation is replacing the culverts. Now, we've already purchased the culverts. They're sitting at the south shop. So if I wanted to do the culverts this winter time and early spring is the time to do that, so that they're in there, the ground over the top of them kind of settles a little bit. Then when they do the full depth reclamation over the top of them, then it would be a homogeneous, uniform road across the top of them. So that should prevent some problems down the road. So,
Bryce, do you remember what the county's cost share portion on that was going to be? If you said the state's portion was 1.8.
yeah, I think ours was going to be, because we had to pay the inspection and all that other stuff too. I think our part was going to be like 900,000 on top of it, so about 2.7 total
Okay.
for the project. So, like I said, the culverts are already purchased.
We're at 35%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we would do the culverts ourselves, we wouldn't
Yes.
hire that out.
We'd have to do the culverts, the inspection, and we'd have a design work, but I mean, the design work essentially isn't. The design as far as the full depth reclamation is actually done by the contractor. They determine exactly based on what they are, but with the 4% that Crook Flat Strobel has pretty common across the board for 4% cement. So, but anyway, that's the biggest thing is if the county wishes to proceed, now the other options, we can go back and proceed. We could put the culverts in and not necessarily do the full depth reclamation and just have some new culverts in there for if and when. But we've talked about just how bad this road is as well as 330th east of Tampa. So, and all things considered, 330th east of Tampa, I'm probably gonna have to go in and do some temporary work this winter time because it's all apart bad. So,
Can we do the full depth reclamation ourselves?
we could. It's going to take us 2 to 3 times as long. probably, I don't know money-wise where that would be, because we'd have to go out and we would have to rent the reclaimer. We'd have to rent or buy the cement, do that whole process there. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it, because the indirect costs would be huge, because I basically have to put almost all my guys out there for 2-3 months. These guys come in, they do a 12-foot wide mill, they mill it up at one time, they mix cement with it, they lay it back. You know, they'll do anywhere from a mile, 2 miles a day. When they redid north of town on Remington, they said they would, even with the BONAG, they basically could get, I think they said like it'd be a mile up and back in one day. That was without cement, that was without stuff like that. So then you gotta turn, like I said, you gotta rent the BOMAG machine, and that's probably $10,000 a month. You know, so it adds up.
At one time, we had talked about doing Nighthawk in phases.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend even looking at that?
We can do whatever you want.
I mean, I know that the whole 13 miles is not good.
The whole thing comes down to the fact is, you really shoot yourself in the foot if you don't do as much as you can, because your unit costs. I mean, that's their mobilization, obviously, and everything else is going to be split out among how many miles you do. But yeah, I mean, we could do whatever. The problem is trying to figure out which parts you want to do first. Now, the other thing is we do have maybe a little bit of, and I don't know how far down the road it would be, is with the 190th and Nighthawk intersection. That's our most accident intersection. I'd like to do some changes with that, and I think with the traffic safety, possible federal money that is coming up there, we can get some money for that, but that may be a year or 2 or 3 down the road. So, and that only helps right at the intersection. So, and that, you know, obviously Nighthawk is the worst one, but we'd actually talked about trying to get money to redo 190th also, and didn't get that. So, anyway, I mean, based on the financial situation of the capital outlay and stuff like that, I mean, you're talking about like I said, I could probably get down in the neighborhood of 2.5 million, but I mean, still, I'm not going to save too much by that extra chip seal. So, like I said, if you want to think about it, I have no problem with that. We can talk about it next week or whatever the case may be. But we probably need to make a decision by the end of November if we do want to do something to try to get things turned around for next year. So.
You know, if we are committed to Nighthawk, though, wouldn't it be feasible just to go ahead and do the culvert work and get it done? See where we're at?
That's my, I guess, my question. And I mean, that's something else too, is probably for the speed of getting it done and stuff like that, I would probably hire a local contractor to do that, or put it out to bids to do that. That shouldn't cost us an awful lot of money, because we've already furnished the culverts. We'll deliver the culverts, so it's just a matter of having them tear it out and put the new one in. They could probably do a culvert or 2 a day, so I don't think it would take that much. But I've got my guys plenty busy doing tree work and ditches and everything else too. I mean, I could, they're not used to setting those. They're not used to setting those long and detailed kind of pipes, you know. So, but
How much time would you need for true compaction to come back in?
if you could let me know what the weather's going to be like this winter time and everything else. It basically comes down to the fact is you can do any mechanical compaction you want. Mother Nature will take care of that. Like I said, the biggest thing is by going across there and getting the pipes in now, it gives them more time to settle, because actually the ground underneath can settle also, which you have no control over. But that's the good thing about doing the full depth reclamation over the top. It now takes that whole process out of there. But we could go back we can backfill with material, we can go back with rock, and we can put some millings on the top of there. So that, I mean, we did that one south of Peabody on Zoll Mill, and you know, it held up with rock. You know, that's the other thing, we can put rock on there for a while until that gets beat in, and then come back with millings. Millings or coal mix isn't the best time of year to be working with those, so we can come back next year and replace that too. But again, that's just the culverts and not the whole roadway. So, like I said, you guys can think about it, whatever you want. We can talk about it next week. I don't want to take a lot of time for that. So, or if you come up with any other alternatives, you know, you know, I can go back and I can continue to patch on it, or we're out spot patching on a daily basis, trying to keep up with some of the holes, and that's one of them we're working on, so.
I'd suggest, as far as the state funding, you might try to get a list of the award winners and contact one or two of them, just say, how do you guys do it?
Well, there was over 100 applications, and they selected 22. The list is actually on KDOT's website. One of them was actually one of the north intersections at 235 in Wichita. Now it's like, wow, you know, I don't think that's what that money should have been, you know, but anyway, it is what it is, and there was basically anything and everything on there, from sidewalks to bikeways to city streets to like the beautification we did downtown, all that stuff was all in there. So, and as I knew, they were going to get way too many projects for the amount of money they had, but it's their, you know, I mean, we can always have that option, but again, you never know, so.
Is that, do you know, is that an independent board that draws the award winners, or is it just
They,
in-house?
yeah, they go through the selection process, they look at the economic values, the safety values, and all that other stuff, plus, you know, to say that we put in 35%, I don't know how much of a weighing factor that was. It may have been very little, it may have been really high, I don't know. And I don't know if they would ever release that, but yeah, I mean, and I had actually thought about it, you know, trying to submit that stuff in there, but it's like, who do you really contact? And I don't know how a school district or post office, whatever else, could really say how much of a huge benefit it is, other than, but I mean, that's something we can look at, so. So like I said, we can, if you want to, we can think about it. And come back
Okay,
next week.
commission, take that under consideration.
Yeah, so, also, I just want to let you know, I was going to contact Purple Wave to get our skid steer, set up to take pictures to get it sold by the end of the year. They come out and take all the pictures and everything else, and they actually list it for you, so just let you know.
Hey, Bryce,
Yes.
we have another list of items that needs to also be sold. So-
Yes. That's what I was gonna say, was if there's anything else on there, because I think you talked about getting rid of a car or something down the road, and
Yeah.
we're gonna put some, well, we've actually gone through our tire inventory and found a whole bunch of tires that we don't think we even need anymore, so we're gonna put all that, kind of clean house, doing that. We've got a couple, truck cabs and stuff like that we have too, that we don't even have trucks for anymore. So we're gonna put all that on there. I also kind of talked about is I've got the 2 mower tractors with the boom mowers on them, and we're just having a heck of a time keeping them going. One's a 97, the other one's an 07. I talked about before about getting rid of both of them, both boom mowers, and getting a brand new tractor and a brand new boom mower with a flail on it. I just talked with Isaac also about getting the flail mower like we demoed, going right behind the tractor. So we're gonna look at it and see if we can't pool our resources to try to get one of each. One thing to be nice about the tractor, both of these have PTO mowers on them, so that when you don't need the mowers or whatever else, you can drop the mowers off there and you still have a good tractor to use. So it's kind of a win-win situation. So looking at that for equipment for next year, like I said, that John Deere mower's been rebuilt 3 times now, and it's been in the shop. Seems like it's in the shop more. And the poor old Tiger, it's, I mean, 22-year-old tractor with a mower on it. That's way beyond anybody's expectations. So, but anyway, and we also, since we got the new 3/4 ton, we're taking 1 1/2 tons out of the fleet. This bad shape, transmission's gone. Come to find out, their frame was cracked in 2. When they went to pick up the fuel tank out of the back, they actually picked up about half of the back side, and the truck kind of went like this, and kind of find out it's totally broken too. So we're just gonna put it on Purple Wave, say as is, here's your parts shop, because we obviously, even if we only get a couple $100 out of it, it still costs us to take it somewhere else to salvage or whatever else.
Sure.
So we're looking at that. But like I said, obviously Tina mentioned if you have anything else that wants, I'm gonna try to get in here, and obviously if you, I don't know how much, you have a list of stuff, okay. So I can at least give them that list to find, let them know if they need to be here a whole day or whatever it is to take pictures. So, and we can have Marion County's own sale. We've got that much stuff on there, so. Otherwise, we're continuing to do rebuilds and stuff like that on roads. Hopefully this afternoon or tomorrow, we're gonna start going north of town on Sunrise. The road gets an awful lot of traffic, and for some reason we did some work on it this year, it didn't work out, so we're gonna go back and rebuild it, so. But mostly just be the roadway, it won't be the ditches or anything, so. That's all I really have, unless you have anything else.
I do have a question or two for you.
Yes.
I just had a phone call this morning for the meeting start, as a matter of fact, from 300 and Xavier is an exposed culvert. And I think you've been contacted a couple times by it,
Yeah.
and so they called me, and I said that since we have a meeting today, I would mention that to you, if there's any way you could get that,
Yeah, we
something
got,
done to that before it gets tore up.
yeah,
and
we got
it's
the call
cost
last
more.
week, and I think it was actually uncovered earlier this year, and we've covered it back up. Maybe we just need to replace the pipe, or I don't know why we're losing so much, but I'm heading up that way this afternoon, so I'll look at it.
Okay,
So,
okay, that would be great.
I
And then
also
one.
got the same call.
You
You got the same call?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so then one other thing I wanted to just mention up for you to consider is, I had mentioned a couple weeks back about maybe considering buying fuel on a contract for
Okay.
a long period of time, maybe 6 months or a year at a time or something like that. And I did actually have a meeting with one of the places here in town, and they do have a class coming up on it, and I'd like to see if you guys anybody would be interested in going. I've got a couple of invitations here. Because I'm told that from this particular organization that we can save a lot of money by contracting fuel. So I'll give you a couple of them if you want to have some of your guys go to it, however. And it's something I think we really need to consider. You know, a lot of people do contract propane and things like that, and right now fuel is pretty low. So this is an ideal time to maybe consider a contract for fuel.
Yeah.
And also maybe get a better quality than what we're buying. I think we're basically buying number one, and I think we should really consider maybe Ruby Red or something like that, which
Well-
is even less. But all
Yeah.
this will be covered in the class and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then we can discuss it. But I understand we can, over the course of time, save quite a bit of money by contracting.
I mean, I definitely understand. The thing is that I was, obviously coming here, that's the way it's always been done, but I was just assumed that they wanted it that way based on the variability of the price.
No, and interestingly enough, I said the same thing, and I was shot down immediately, and they said, oh, a lot of counties contract.
Really?
And that's the way, because they do over the course of time, with the volatility
Sure.
of the fuel prices.
Sure.
Just like when, at your home, you buy propane or whatever, you tend to save. And of
Well,
course, the more you buy,
Sure.
the
As
better.
long as we
it is.
didn't have to have immediate delivery, because we wouldn't be able to.
Well, what you do is
No.
you just set it up on a price, and then, hey, you call up, hey, I need X amount of gallon, and they come and deliver it. So, yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, honestly, it would cut down a lot of the administrative time that we
Well,
spend
that's
too.
right, and they'll also clean our tanks for us once or twice a year, which I don't know how often we do that now, I don't know, but they will clean the tanks also, and the fuel is fresh. They buy it right from McPherson, and then it's delivered directly to you. And I know that sounds funny to say fuel is fresh, but it actually does sour and so on, and you don't get your performance out of it by buying it sometimes like we do. So it's just something I really would like us to consider, because I really think it's an advantage to the county.
Sure. Yeah, like I said,
Really take a serious look at it.
I don't know, I just assumed that they didn't want
No.
to speculate so far.
And I was amazed to find out how many counties actually do already do it. Yeah, so interesting anyway. Okay,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Anything else?
Anything else, Bryce? Okay.
Let you two gentlemen know that if you ever need anything day or night, whatever else, get calls, let me know. That's what I'm here for, to take care of those, and the other ones can say they typically call me and I get things adjusted as quick as I can, so I don't want you guys to get those phone calls are meant for me, so.
Well, I appreciate that. Prior to sitting in the seat, I brought things up to you and you've handled them quickly, so I appreciate that.
All right, thank you,
Brian,
Brian.
thanks.
Okay, planning and zoning. Karen, good morning.
Okay, we have 3 cases that we had public hearings on October 23rd. The first item is case PC 1903, an application by Evergy, which was Westar on behalf of the Mennonite Brethren Foundation. Did you all receive your packets? Okay. So the location of the proposed substation is about a half a mile south of US 56 on Jade Road. It's on the east side. It's just south of the industrial park at Hillsboro. They are requesting the CUP for a new electrical substation. They've identified the necessity for a new substation to provide additional power and more reliable electric transmission service to Marion County and the surrounding area. Evergy planning engineers have determined that the new substation is the key to solving current issues with serviceability, reliability, and reducing unnecessary outages to customers in the surrounding area. So basically, right now, they have a transmission line going through. The substation would provide a place for switches and things like that, that they can kill the energy at a certain spot and work on that particular line going out to the distribution lines. Instead of having an outage for the entire area. Marion County has regulations that deal with the submittal requirements of a conditional use permit application. The site has been submitted showing the proposed electric substation on the overall property. The electrical equipment yard will occupy approximately 1.64 acres, and it will be 230 feet by 310 feet, surrounded by a fence. The remaining 5.66 acres will be green space or for agricultural purposes. The site plan shows the entrance to the substation is from Jade Road. Evergy officials will confirm the proposed haul route to be used during construction and operations of the proposed substation with Bryce Goebel, county engineer. If you had a chance to look through Article 24, there are some factors that are used when considering whether to approve or deny an application. Do you want me to go through each of those?
Well, we do need a substation.
Probably because I'm more reliable.
No doubt about it.
We have a generator. You hear
We
it?
do have a generator, yes.
I noticed on the zone of influence, the 3 mile barrier is Hillsboro. Okay with that?
So Hillsboro has not claimed ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction. There are no resolutions that have been signed with the county. They were notified, and I also spoke with not Anthony. Larry, yes, thank you. I spoke with Larry, let him know when the public hearing would be, and that the Board of Commissioners would have the final say-so on it. I don't believe he had any concerns with the substation. We also have Evergy here today, representatives from Evergy. If you have any questions for them about some of the specifics of the substation.
All I know is in the past, there has been some issues down in that area, and it's been talked about for, well, you might give us your name.
My name is Dave Peck, and
Okay.
I'm the project manager for this new project.
Yes. I mean, it's been a known problem for, what, number of years, I guess, at this point.
The electrical system in this area is very ancient. It was built in the 1930s and 40s, so it's time to replace it. And this is the first step. Once we find this new substation location, we're going to start rebuilding the transmission lines coming into the area, and improve the electrical grid and bring it up to today's standards. Obviously, things like this are very embarrassing. We're not the fix-it guys, we're the build new guys, so when we show up, we hear a lot of the problems, and I don't have a lot of history on them, but I know that there've been enough problems to bring us here today that build the guys, so.
And it's, as you can tell, it's also an issue here in Marion.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that will affect their power over here, if that's a different substation.
You know, the grid is all connected. This is gonna bring a transmission line in, so you start at the high level. Think of it like an interstate highway for us, so you bring in the big power, make it very reliable, bring in multiple sources, and that's where you start solving the problem.
All right. Any questions of Sharon or our representative from Evergreen? I'm ready to move on it. Do we have a resolution?
Yes, just a moment.
The planning commission did recommend approval for this project with the conditions that a whole route is agreed upon by the applicant and Marion County Road and Bridge Department engineer for the construction phase of the project. A copy of the whole route will be kept on file with the zoning administrator. The second item being that the development plan as presented is strictly adhered to. And the third condition is that prior to development of the project, all required local, state, and federal permits should be obtained and copies submitted to the county.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, this is resolution number 2019-17, a resolution granting an operation, a conditional use permit to construct an electric substation on certain property generally located 1/2 mile south of US 56 on the east side of Jade, near Hillsborough, Kansas, application made by Evergy Incorporated. And I will make a motion to approve that resolution. Seconded by Dave. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0.
Okay, and I changed on the resolution form, so there's one section if you're in favor to sign, and then the other, if you voted opposed, you can sign on that side. So,
And with all conditional permit applications, this was noticed in the newspaper on October 2nd, 2019, and property owner notifications were sent to properties within 1,000 feet on October 2nd, 2019. And then the special planning commission meeting was held on October 23rd.
Okay, Sharon, move on.
Okay, the next two cases are PC 1905 and PC 1906. They're similar in the fact that they're both submitted by Rise Broadband, and they're for communication towers. These towers are 85-foot towers, so they're more of like a repeater style tower, if you will. They're not the 200-foot cell towers that we see like off of K15. They're intended to help provide more reliable internet service to folks within about a 5-mile range from where the towers are placed. Again, this legal notices were published in the paper on October 2nd, 2019. Notification letters were sent to the neighboring properties within 1,000 feet on October 2nd. And a special meeting was held on October 23rd. The first property is filed by Rise Broadband on behalf of Arlen and Brenda Penner. I believe Mr. Penner is present today. The property in question is just under 72 acres and about 3.5 miles southeast of the city of Hillsborough. The proposed tower will be in, I believe it's an 85-foot monopole secured to a concrete base, meaning it doesn't have the guide wires. The tower will be installed within a 12 by 12 foot area located within the subject property. The proposed location adequately allows for property line setback requirements. And there's a picture in your packets. It may be a little hard to see, so this is the overall property. And then if you'd like a closer look, there's an orange dot or triangle here back in the tree line back behind the barn where there they're proposing that tower be placed.
Hemingfield Church right there.
If approved, the tower will be constructed on the property for the purpose of enhancing wireless data and radio communications to the area surrounding the site. This project is part of the American Broadband Initiative, a Federal Communications Commission funded initiative to expand broadband internet service to rural communities. As part of this initiative, in order to receive federal funding, the towers in conjunction with this project must be installed and available for use by January 1st, 2020. If you'd like more information about that initiative, www.thewhitehouse.gov explains this initiative. It's a multi-agency effort to remove barriers to broadband deployment to aid a free market economy. And this project is under the leadership of the White House, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Commerce. Do you have any questions concerning this project? This project in particular on this parcel, or the project in general?
I know broadband's been a hot button issue for the county economic development wise, so I'm glad to see that there's gonna be some improvements being made. You have a comment, Charlie?
Yes, I was at the meeting at the zoning. I asked for one request on it, and they have not done yet. I am a landowner and a member of the Edental Church standing behind it. We were supposed to get notices before this ever get voted on to where it goes. I've talked to Penners on it, so they know that. And the neighbors have not got anything. I would appreciate if you put this off 1 week and make them send that picture to 5 people what are around that thing within 100 feet, basically, or a couple hundred feet, to know what they are getting, because half of them don't know what they're getting. To a degree, of the landowners, because they didn't even notice the first notice that came out with the zoning deal.
So for clarification.
And I did ask for that at the zoning.
Okay, yeah, and that request was made to Rise
Yes.
Broadband. not
And they
to
said
the
they'd
county.
do it, and they have not done it.
The county sent notifications to the property owners within 1,000 feet as required by the state statute.
Do we have any representative from Rise Broadband?
Yes. I was not able to
State your
make,
name, please.
oh, my name is Troy with Rise Broadband, Troy Held. I wasn't able to make the first meeting, but I did provide the location to the county, where the tower was going. I didn't get anything.
I know, but when we talked, the guy
Personally-
was there that night, said he would tell you guys that we
Okay, that would've
appreciate
been
that
one of
all
the
the
local
neighbors, there's
technicians.
3 guys right north of it. What, basically, we'll look at it.
Okay.
We've got the church that looks right out the front door, we'll look at it. And you've got 2 guys they're on their backsides, and I appreciate if they got a notice. They're the guys that are close, within a quarter mile.
Okay. I did pull up all the
And,
information and.
yeah, I'm not saying
get
all
that
20
sent
need
in.
it, but those guys are the ones that are gonna see it. The rest of them aren't. I've got ground right next to it and stuff, but I've got a notice. And I did ask for that at the zoning. Sharon kinda remembers that. And they passed it on that deal too, that would be sent out.
My understanding was that a site plan, an updated
Because
site
you did
plan
not have
would
a
be
site plan.
provided to the county, to the commissioners before the final decision was made. So
But they voted on that and halfway, and the guy agreed that he would send that out before they came to here.
So this is basically an issue then between Rise Broadband and the property owner.
Right, I'm just saying if you put it off 1 week so the property owners get that map, so they would see it, where it goes. Because that's what I asked for at the zoning committee, and they said they do that.
Is that an
When they
issue with
pass.
the company?
Is that an issue for 1 week, so people would get it?
I know you're.
You will have the other one if
You're
they
against
pass
the
it.
wall on the
First of January.
federal funding.
Our time frame right now, with concrete curing, especially the colder it gets, the longer it can take. Right now, we have a minimum of 30-day concrete curing, so as long as we can proceed with that, I can be back here next week to go over this again if I need to.
If you go
Actually,
if you go
I
stick
take
one of
that
those-
back. I cannot be back here next
No.
week, I have another county.
Well, they can pass it next week if nobody shows up with those 5 people.
Okay.
I'm just asking that. I just love to see those guys see where it goes. I mean, they've set it back, it's farther back than we thought it was originally, which is thank you.
Yes, it was originally closer to the property
Uh-huh.
line until we knew about the setbacks,
Right.
in which case we moved it kind of more
Like
back
I
into the woods
say, I don't think
area.
anybody's against it. I'm just saying that I'd like them to know where it's at, because they're the ones that are gonna look at it for their 20 years or 30 years around. And it's just, and that's what I asked for at the zoning deal, because I don't think most of them are gonna be really against it, but they wanna know where it goes and what it is. None of those guys know it, because they didn't come to the zoning to figure out anything. And the original paper, when you sent it out, just talked about a tower going up, no height, no nothing to it.
In the public notice did state that folks can come to that public hearing, or inquire at the zoning
I mean,
office
at
if
this
they have
point,
questions.
it's not an issue between the county and
No,
Rise.
I'm just saying
If Rise is willing to do that, I'm okay with it.
That's all I'm
As
asking for,
long
is
as
1
I-
week if you will put it off.
As long as I can get a list of email addresses, I can get that
Well, she's
sent
got the
out
address of
today
most of them.
before I take off again.
I don't have email addresses.
I couldn't
for
tell
those
you emails either, but,
I have the property owners within 1,000 feet. I have their
I mean,
addresses.
if anything, if you could get me 5 of those things, or 6 of those, 7 of those maps right there, I'll go give it to them.
I can.
And give them 1 week. I mean, they gotta show up next week if they're gonna do something. I'm not coming back and chasing it. Let's put it that way.
But were these people notified?
Yes.
They were notified, but half of them, I went and talked to them about 2 days after the zoning meeting. They didn't even know what that letter was for. They didn't understand it.
It'd be best done through your office, so you have paperwork, paper trail to follow up that you did do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get that sent out. Like I said, email would obviously be much quicker
Yeah, I couldn't
response.
tell
But I can get a copy of that same drawing or same overhead view mailed out, hopefully today.
And put footage on it, you know, how tall it is and what kind of, so they know what they're looking at. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I can even,
You know,
I have a copy of
appreciate it.
the overall drawing, so they have a general idea of what it looks like. It's basically a lattice tower that's,
Right.
I mean, you can see through it. It's not just a big pipe in the air. But I can get that information sent out as well if I'm sending something
Because
out.
I don't
That's what
think
give all the
anybody's
information.
royally against it, but they want to know where it's at. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Just being neighborly, that's what I asked for that night, and it did not happen yet to them.
At this point, I don't know that it's going to influence the decision that the commission's gonna make.
Well, but those guys can show up next Monday.
Yeah, all of them.
They are not.
All
If
of
they
the
want to complain
requirements
or
have
would
been
like it
met.
moved another 10 feet, I'm just saying. I mean, that's up to them. Some of them couldn't be here today.
That would leave us in a tight position to approve the concrete and move it 10 feet.
Well, but I mean, there's somebody, you've got it back here. They've got it back far enough to a degree. They're going to be hidden more than they were. I know from the church, it'll be right out the front steps through the hole in the tree to a degree. And some of the church people know about it, some don't. I mean, it's not going to be that way. It's up to the board or whatever you want to say on
What's the
that. It's not me.
commission's?
I'm just saying if you could put that one vote off for 1 week to give the 5 people there, if they want to come back and ask for something, they can do it.
If we could approve to commence construction, how long would it take before you got to the concrete pour? Would it be a week? Would you dig footings and dig it?
I would need to get footings going. I've actually got guys that are heading this way this week in anticipation of this getting approved from South Dakota, Iowa. I've got guys from Texas coming up.
How long are you going to be around
get-
today?
My flight is at 4.
That's the thing, most of you guys work until 5. I'm just telling you to go to the doors today and just show
I
it. And
can-
ask the permission, because I mean, most of them just want to see it.
My thoughts are, at this point, all the legal requirements have been met.
Mhm.
You know, those notices were mailed to the individuals that are in question. And, you know, I'm sorry that they didn't understand maybe
Well-
what the legal.
But they didn't tell you if it was going to be an 80-foot tower or 200-foot tower with lights on it. We did not know.
There's a copy of the public notice in your packet, and it states that if they have any questions or would like to see the legal description of the property in question, to inquire at the planning and zoning department, and it gives the address. It says when the public hearing is going to be. There's not specific information like it's an 85-foot tower, but it does, if anyone has questions, they're always welcome to call the office or show up at the public hearing. We're past the 14-day protest period. I haven't heard a word from anyone about it
That's my next question.
outside of the public hearing in this morning.
I know, well, I
So
brought,
that-
at the zoning, I brought that up, so. you-
Right, the public hearing.
But I'm saying there was nothing, you had nothing at the zoning saying where it's going, what it's doing either.
We did have, and you expressed concern that it was too close to the church.
Yeah.
So Mr. Held worked with the property owner, Mr. Penner,
Mhm.
and his wife, and have relocated the proposed area of the tower.
I know, I mean, I talked to Paul, Penner's on that one day, and he said, I agree with your neighbors and that, but I wish they would've got that picture before today.
Okay, it's not standard practice for us to send pictures out with the notification letter. So.
I know that, but I asked for it at the zoning, and he said he'd do it.
Okay.
The kid what was there, the boy what was there, putting off said he would do that.
Okay. Is that-
His name is Sean.
Yeah.
I've actually never met him in person. He works in this, by local area, I mean within 5 hours of here. So that's his territory, and unfortunately, I didn't
You
get
didn't
that
get that
information.
information.
Otherwise, I
Would've
would
probably
have
done.
gotten it sent out through the mail so you guys have a chance to see what's happening beforehand. We're not trying to
No, I'm not trying to make.
come in and like make a big
No.
big thing that's going to be an eyesore for everybody. That's
I
actually why
understand
we
that, and you said it
go with
back, and I
the-
appreciate what was done on that. But I mean, it's just one thing, we did ask for it, and I was hoping you'd do it.
Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve PC-19-05 with a caveat that RISE show those
So they know what they're
people
getting.
so they know, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve,
Okay, I think we have a resolution.
okay?
Do we need to then add that as a condition here, Sharon, in the resolution about?
I don't know, does it need to be a condition? I mean, if RISE is willing to work with those people and communicate with them,
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. When I'm back in the office tonight or tomorrow, I can work on getting that printed out and sent out. I believe the list you have is the list I gave you of the addresses.
Yes, we do have a list of the address.
Okay.
And I
Then
You
I
do
should
just send
have all
all,
of
send
that.
all of them.
Yeah, that's
The
fine.
whole
I-
list.
and
Okay.
For the cost of a few stamps, I'd rather people know what's going on and see what's
Right,
coming up.
I appreciate
than,
that.
okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-18, a resolution approving a conditional use permit to establish a wireless communication tower on certain property generally located at 1485 Kansas, Hillsborough, Kansas, made by Rise Broadband.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded by Dave. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
I work with getting it
Send
sent
that
out
out. So-
tomorrow.
That's
at
fine,
the
I mean,
latest.
but I mean, that's the thing, I mean, I'd like them to know what they're getting at. If they got something to talk to you, put an address for them to
Yep,
call you
I'll
back
put my,
so they can
my
come-
phone number
can
and
do
all.
something. Appreciate
If they
it.
need to call me about anything, I'll be happy to answer any
It's
questions.
always better for people to warm up to the idea.
I mean, it's, I know we're not going to stop it at 100%.
You guys are the
You've done it.
customers, so
I know. Yeah. And you can
we,
give- you can
we
give
want
the-
you to be happy
You can
with
give
it
those
too.
5-30%
Okay,
off.
let's
Troy,
go.
Church would love to have
do you
that.
want these, or do you want to use the ones that you have from, you have the shape files on the actual tower location? If you want that.
Actually, I'll take a copy of these as well.
Okay, you can have it.
So,
Thank
Okay,
you.
Sharon, go ahead.
Okay, so case PC 1906 is very similar in nature, same company, it's Rise Broadband. This property is owned by David Tharp. It's located, sorry, let me flip through my pages here. It's located on Quail Creek between 120th and 130th. Basically, it's all the same information, same type of structure, same
Yes.
type of enclosure, same federal government initiative. Just a different location. And again, Troy is here if you have any questions regarding.
Most of these are greater setting agreements are required.
They both are, in our regulations, communication towers are required to be fall distance away from a property boundary as part of the whole.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve resolution number 2019-19, a resolution approving a conditional use permit to establish a wireless communications tower on certain property generally located at 1219 Quail Creek, Peabody, Kansas. Application made by Rise Broadband. Moved, second by John. Any other discussion? Not, all those in favor? Aye. Roll call.
Okay, I believe that's all the business I have for planning and zoning today. Do you have any other questions?
So I would just ask the question, in the future, as we go forward with doing things like this, can you include a picture in your mailing? I mean, how much more would that cost? Because it does appear to me as though, I don't want to say people don't, are stupid or anything like that, I'm not saying that, but a lot of times when we see a picture, it does clarify. Yeah, sure. Because I do know some of those letters that are sent out, in some cases are very, the average person is very, compact, although they're everyday business for you. For those people, I mean, for other people, a picture would be very nice.
I can attest to that, it's very helpful.
If the board would like for me to do something, that's something we can include. Just the cost of the additional copies.
Would that require any kind of change in regulation for what is sent out, or just in addition?
The notices are sent out on, it's a state statute that mandates those notifications. So this would just be in addition to a courtesy, basically.
Yeah. Visual representations are good. I understand that.
Because we do want to inform people.
If it does require any changes, I'm going to have to make some changes from what I've seen. So that could be all incorporated in ahead of time as we go through.
Okay.
Great.
That causes you a little bit more work,
It's not that much more work, it's one more piece of paper to go in there.
okay.
Sometimes the notification area has 5 property owners around it. Sometimes the notification area, like out of the lake, may have 200. So, it's just a matter of where the property is located and how many surrounding property owners there are within 1,000 feet.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Junette B.O.B.
Right here.
Please take a seat. Microphone.
I'll be having your. Thank you.
Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, we're still the same issue. It's been a month ago. Everybody, the commissioners should have been able to go out to see the land that we want to put a barn on for the horse and the dog. Okay, they're out there. They've been on there since we purchased the land. But we ran into problems when we went to planning and zoning. They said, well, there's all these easements and you cannot put anything out there. You have to put a house out there first. Well, where we want to put the house, there's a gas line that runs there, and I just found out from a neighbor, true, Rose Lane used to be a road that goes clear down to the lake, and that's why the gas line follows that. But it's like a guy put his fence up, blocked the road off, and now we got a gas line where we want to put the house, the garage. So, and then there's this huge turnaround that probably happened after he blocked the road off, and they want to turn around out there, so that's an easement. We're not going to petition anything for like any kind of $200 here, $300 here, and get a no vote on it. When we put up money for any of this, we want a positive yes vote. Yeah, we're gonna do it for you. See, so I still need a barn. The horse is out there. He is very handicapped. He can't eat hay. I have to chop it up, have to soak his oats and so forth, because his teeth were knocked out in Pratt County. And they've been violent on his teeth, and he's been hit out here in Marion County. So we need a barn for the horse. Tell me what fine, whatever I have to do to get that barn out there. I can't put wheels on it because I've been through that issue with the barn builder. He said, there's a lot of people wanting wheels on their barns now because of this. You're taxing portable sheds on skids. You know, they're still portable, whether they got wheels or not, you know. And our land is in tie-up now with the title insurance company because we've seen all these easements after we purchased this land. There's so many easements, there's probably not enough there to own a horse in this county. So it's like, we were sold something that was represented, okay? So by the end of the month, hopefully we will know if they're gonna take the land back or not. And then we're out of here. But in the meantime, my horse needs shelter. He's 26 years old. Like I said, I have to help him eat. He can't eat hay, I gotta chop it up, okay? And this wasn't his problem before this happened. So, where can we go from here? What do I need to do to get a barn out there? I'm not gonna build a house first. If any house will be brought in as soon as I can shop for a house after I get this barn for my animals, I will go shopping for a modular house to get it out there. But a garage has to go up and it's gonna be on the sewer line. It can't happen. You're gonna have to move that sewer line because it's on my property because the road don't go through there. Or open the road back up and then we'll do something else.
Well, I think you're bringing up the same issues you brought up before, and in my determination, we'd be overstepping planning and zoning if we allowed you to do anything. It was my understanding you were gonna take it up with the title insurance company, and
It's been there, but you don't know how long they're gonna take to decide, see? But for now, my horse and dog need shelter out there.
One question.
so, go ahead, Jim.
Is this property by chance in the Wilton addition?
No.
What does that mean?
There's certain subsections of the lake properties that are,
It's North Lake subdivision.
so it's not the Wilton. I was just making sure that there wasn't another violation, so just.
No, we can't even see the lake. That wasn't our purpose, and it was the only little ground you had available to buy in Marion County. That's the only reason we bought out there. We don't care about the lake. It could go dry, you know. The lake is not my concern. It's our little property. We're gonna establish our home site on, but my animals so you need to tell me, are you gonna find me? So we'll know. You know, if I put my barn out there, they need the barn. But in 2 weeks, we might be gone anyway, and it'll be off of there. It's no big issue. Just tell me what I need to do. All these articles, you hardly have anything about animals here. That is so unethical. You need to start with the animals. If you bring an animal and put him on there, you make sure you have shelter for that animal. That's a humane thing to do. Not say, well, you
Well, the
can't do
county
that.
lake is really not an agricultural area.
We have zoning for agricultural.
Right, so is it agriculture? What is this? What is my land out there? What is it?
It's considered a lake lot,
Okay,
residential district.
right.
Is it-
So,
Is it
my horse is
standard
agricultural.
big enough to have?
It's large enough, the regulations state that you cannot have animals such as horses on a property that's under 1 acre. This
But see,
property
you
is
take all the
well over-
easements away, what do we got? There's a dumb dry pond out there that we were gonna get rid of. No, you can't. Yeah, it's gonna be getting rid of, but it's like, no, that's part of that platy thing. I was like, well, why was this sold to us? Are there underhanded, like, sales in this community? That shouldn't even happen to us. Why are they even here? We bought
Well,
property.
We've hashed over this, and we can't do anything as far as the county goes. Planning and zoning controls that, and we're not gonna overstep that. I suggest you try to expedite whatever you need to do with the title insurance company, and
How about the road thing, the road issue? Rose Lane goes all the way through, but a guy's got his fence over the Rose Lane. And see, we wouldn't need that turnaround out there in our property. I'm not gonna petition that because then they said the county would own half of it. I'm not, county, you give it up. You start it. If you want us here, you give it up. We're gonna pay taxes, you give it up first.
takes a petition to close the road.
Well, have the county start it. They own half of
We
it.
can't start a petition to close the county road.
It's not closing the road, it's getting rid of that big old turnaround that you made because somebody put his fence over the road. Who allowed that guy to put that fence over that road?
No idea.
Rose Lane goes clear to the lake.
As it's platted, it doesn't follow all the way through to the lake. there's a cul-de-sac between the Tolan's house and the property that Miss Billy is talking about.
No, the man that owned all that land, he said Rose Lane used to go to the lake, because they own the dock right at the end of the lake.
I have a picture of the plat if anyone needs it. Yeah.
So why did they make a cul-de-sac? Are they gonna put people in the pond and the ditch?
So I guess my question is, why are a lot of these things not disclosed to people when they make a purchase?
Should have been disclosed in the title insurance.
Yeah, I'm saying it should have been here, it should have been there, but why wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's my problem, you know, because
Not
that
good
puts
at
us
the
in a
job.
position.
That's why I think it's a title insurance problem.
Yeah, that's typically a line item in a resource,
What, the line item?
as far as certain discrepancies you should be aware of. Sometimes they're not in there at all, but they should be disclosing them.
Especially, look at what we got, look at all the easements there and what they're taking away from us. There's not enough room for a horse there.
So this is Gillum Road, Upland Road is right
I
here.
really feel for you, I do, but
This is Gillum.
This is
I
the
had
property.
built a trailer and I had
Rose
a
Lane
win
is
number,
right here.
and I had to wait
This is
a
the
year
property
to
that
get it, and I missed two opportunities to use this trailer, so I understand going through the process.
Trailer, livestock trailer?
That's what I feel, so it's more of
There's
a
also
ATV type
the
camphouse
detention
trailer.
pond.
And that wasn't even in this county, this was in Salina, so there's procedure, and it just really.
I think it's pretty cut and dried. I mean, those have been there, and if the title insurance didn't disclose it to
No.
you, then they need to settle with you.
Well, I mean, if they say it can fly, there's not enough land there for a horse. How much do you got there then? Take away the easements and put it out. It's only 2.89 acres, I believe, 2.98.
Upland Road is right here.
Easement doesn't take away from the total land.
Just give people permission to cross your land.
Yeah, an easement is just an access.
I think what she's saying is she's not allowed to build on top of an easement.
Yeah, right.
Well, the sewer line runs right there. It's on top of the build site, or under the ground, under the build site. So, you know, why was that sewer running across people in the middle of their land if that Rose Lane was,
I was looking at
it followed the road is what it is, Rose Lane.
Well, you need to talk to the improvement district on that.
Who is that? I mean, there's so many mystery planning.
The improvement district has their own officers.
That's Paul
Right,
White.
do they have a building?
That's Paul White.
Yeah, he
and
was
Amy
out.
Isley, and
Yeah.
I believe she has spoke with them also.
They've been out to the property. Paul said that turnaround was way too big. You know, it's easement. Yeah, we're going to use it then for now,
Yeah.
but hopefully they will take the land back and we're gone.
Well, you got two options, either petition and going back to planning and zoning, or petition for some type of vacation of that road or whatever, or your title insurance company needs to settle with you. I see that as the two options.
I think, in keeping with, what we just did this morning and trusting our planning and zoning, we need to keep protocol.
I'm sorry, but
Not start
as a
slippery slope.
commission, we can't do any more than that.
Okay, I just have to get with her and ask her what she's going to find me or whatever, because in the articles it talked about, you know, if you do put something out there, you'll be fined or whatever in
Well,
prison.
maybe your title insurance company will handle that for you.
Well, I'll go visit with him and then I'll have him call you.
And we have spoke with Mrs. Philby about, you know, the easements, the road vacation, if she would like to have a shed there before there's a primary structure like house, then she would need to apply for a conditional use permit.
But it may not pass, see, and I'm not gonna put money out on something that isn't on my favor already. Who would do that? That's, you know.
These are the steps, ma'am. I mean, these are the steps you
Yeah,
have
but
to take, so.
it's not gonna be a no vote. I won't put money out on it.
Okay, well, that's up to you. So,
Well,
There's no guarantees in life.
no, but when you buy property that's represented as, you know, you can homestead there, you can put your animals there, you have enough land there, with all those easements, that takes a lot of that ground away. I wanna know how much we did actually purchase then. That's
well,
not easement.
that's what your issue with the title insurance company is, because they should have, the notification on the title insurance should have outlined in the legal
Right.
description, those easements of record.
But who makes all the laws of, you can't put a barn there for your horse first?
Well, that's planning and zoning.
Right. Well, whoever's behind all that planning is kind of like needs help in deciding, you know, what's right for the animals. When you put animals on land, you better have shelter for them.
Okay.
Or a doghouse.
Okay, thank you for your time. We're gonna move on. Past 10:15, so Russ?
Are you gonna be in the office? I will be there till noon. Thank you. Will you be there this afternoon? Yes. Okay, I'll have you call you.
Morning, Chairman, Commission. Russ Avey, Planning Consultant. This agenda item goes over the protest calculation of the protest petition report for CUP PC 19-4. This was a CUP that was approved by the Commission 2-1 on November 4th, I believe, after being considered for recommendation for approval by the Planning Commission on October 24th. As we discussed on the 24th as well as the 4th of November, with these types of applications, zoning applications, we have or property owners within the notification boundary have the right to file a protest petition against the request. 3 petitions were filed against this request, 2 of which were within the 1,000-foot notification boundary. The total area within the notification boundary affected by those protest petitions amounted to 9.6% of the land within that notification area, and failed to reach the 20% statutory threshold for increased voting requirements from the County Commission. Very similar to protest petition calculations back in June for previous, I think we call it CUP number 6 back in June. That petition as well failed to create that supermajority voting requirement of the County Commission. This one, again, same situation, same result. And I'll set for any questions that you may have.
Any questions of the commission? Russ has outlined it. What we have here.
The report also has the tabulation of the area within the notification area, the subtraction or the elimination of the application area, as well as road right-of-way. That leaves us a net protestable area of about 11.5 million square feet. The 20% threshold required to create a 3/4 supermajority vote is just about 2.3 million square feet. And the protested property, the protests that were filed amounted to just over 1 million square feet. So we have a 9.6% protest. And then the Exhibit A on the 3rd page shows those different elements of the calculations. The application area is shown in light orange, light green is the notification buffer area, and then you can see the 3 properties. Actually, it's 4 properties, 2 or 3 owners of those 4 properties. The 2 owners to the east are the ones that were within the 1,000 foot that counted towards that calculation. And the dark red, of course, is the 9.6% of that land.
Any questions of Russ? On how that was calculated, or?
That's just a protest on the existing transmission line?
No, sir, that's, as part of their kind of the capstone CUP 7, the latest CUP in that Expedition Wind project boundary. That's the only application area that we're calculating that protest petition on. We had done a previous protest petition report back in June for those other cases, that other case.
Okay. Any other information? Russ?
No, sir.
Any other discussion, commission? Appreciate the information.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Is Dave with us? Dave Arterberry? Welcome. Good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. And good morning. David Arterberry, again with Steeple Nicholas. It's a pleasure to be here. what I wanted to do today was to talk a little bit about the process that the county will need to go through in order to secure lease financing for the new transfer station project. Basically, there's two steps that the county commission is going to have to take in order to authorize and execute the leases. The first step is to adopt a resolution that expresses your intent to enter into a lease agreement for the project. And that resolution then also has attached to it a notice of intent that will get published. Once that resolution is passed, the notice gets published, and then a 30-day notice and protest period is started. During that time, if you should get a petition from, and I can't remember the exact percentage of people, but if you should get a petition during that period of time, you would then need to decide how you wanted to proceed. Did you want to call an election on the question of entering into the lease, or would you just want to draft the matter? After that 30-day notice and protest period expires, assuming that you don't get any petition, then what the commission will need to do is to take a second step, which is actually to approve a lease. Prior to taking that second step, though, what we would do, working with the county, is we would go out and we would solicit interest from banks in the area. We had some initial discussions with banks, and we probably, in order to get a good response from banks, will probably send out information requesting proposals from a little bit wider than just within the county. We'll probably, go within all of Kansas to try to get you some good bids on the lease. But we'll go ahead and we'll get the bids from different banks, and we'll return to you with just a summary of the bids, and you kind of look those over before you took your final step, which would then be to approve the lease. So there's two action items that you're going to need. One is to adopt a resolution to start the lease process, and then the other one is to actually approve the lease. And in between that time, you have to sit through a 30-day notice of protest period, and we'll also give you information on who the leasing companies are before you take your final step. So hope I haven't confused you there.
No,
Okay.
it's a little bit different animal than if we're putting out a lease purchase on a motor grader. We don't have to go through a protest.
Right, yeah, with a building you do.
Yeah.
With a building you have to go through a 30-day notice and protest period. So that's sort of the steps we'll take. Now, originally we were hoping to have that first resolution available for you to take action on today. Unfortunately, I think between attorneys being busy and the election, the actual resolution wasn't completed. What we hope to have it available to you is at your next meeting, and at that meeting then you could go ahead and adopt it and start the 30-day notice and protest period.
Do you know what the notice requirements are?
I want
Because is it just paper, or is it more than that?
it's, as I understand, I'm trying to recollect, did you see a draft of the?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay.
But the notification would be published for certain, and I don't know that there's any other notification that you do because it would be county-wide.
Right, yeah, that's right, I'm sorry.
So I believe it's just, there's a statute that requires publication. It outlines how far ahead you have to publish, how long you have to publish, where you have to publish. We could also share that on our website and social media. But there's no individual, we're not required to send out letters to taxpayers.
Right, yeah, I think the requirement is just a newspaper of general circulation in the county.
Yes.
And then that, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's either 1 week or 2 consecutive weeks. And then it starts a 30-day notice and protest period. And the petition itself, I want to say, has to be signed by 10% of the registered voters or something like that. But that's the requirement, is in the newspaper of general circulation.
And we can definitely have that formalized for you before you would consider a resolution potentially next week. We will have one.
And as a matter of information for the new commissioners, we've been over time looking at different avenues in order to finance the transfer station. Of course, Commissioner Novak's in favor of paying for it, the county funds. But because of the tax lid and the implications of that, we're pretty much limited to a lease purchase type financing. But we are also in a very good rate environment at this time.
And we'd have to, we'd want to, I guess we would want to talk a little bit about the length of the borrowing. Maybe this is a good time to do it if we've got a couple of minutes here. When you do a lease purchase agreement, you know, you can determine how long you want to borrow the money over. You know, on something like this, the banks that would be looking to provide this lease would probably prefer a shorter lease. They'd probably prefer a 5 or 10 year lease on the project. Now, if I pull my calculator right here, I can give you some estimates of how much those payments would be. The project cost, I think we were talking about somewhere around 1.7 million. Is that about right?
Yes, it's just over 1.7.
Okay. On a $1.7 million project, if we were
It's
to do
1.761.
okay. We'll just go with 1.8.
Yeah.
Actually, we were talking at one time about financing 1.5, but maybe for what we're at now, go ahead and use
Use
that.
the 1.8. Okay. Okay. If we were to do a 10-year lease, these are going to be rough numbers. I would think your annual payment would be somewhere around $180,000 a year. No, I apologize. That's not right.
I was thinking it would be over 200.
Yeah, I plugged in the interest rate wrong here. Yeah, about 211,000 for a 10-year lease. If you did it for 15 years, your payment would probably be about 151,000. I wouldn't suggest we would. I mean, we could try for a 20-year lease. I think that you might not get a lot of interest from the banks to provide a 20-year lease. Like I said, a lot of banks like shorter borrowing, shorter loans rather than a little bit longer. I don't know, in terms of your budget, how much capacity you would have. I know you're collecting user fees from that. I don't know if $151,000 would be a lot more palatable than a $211,000.
To me it is.
Because at one time we were talking about 100,000 and thinking that the transfer station operation and user fees could pay for itself. My other question is on lease purchase. I'm guessing most of anyone that's going to be interested in financing, because I've been in it for a long time, is going to want to go to a floating rate after X years.
Yeah,
And of course, and I'm not saying that's bad, but it kind of depends on what kind of rate caps you have.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably right. I think what I've been finding is, not in all cases, but in a number of cases, banks will want to float the interest rate or have it change after 5 years. So that would be something we would want to keep in mind when we get the different proposals from the banks is, they would be willing to lock in for 15 years, or are they going to want to have it float within 5 years?
And another issue is if there would be any type of prepayment in, because at some years we might want to, if we're able to budget-wise, if we can make a larger payment. Whether that's going to affect any of the terms and conditions, then it's out.
Yeah, typically the way these kind of lease purchase agreements are structured is that you wouldn't have the ability to prepay just part of the loan or part of the financing. You'd have the ability to prepay the whole thing, And you could probably do so without a penalty, but usually we don't see them structured to allow you just to partially prepay.
I don't really see that as a big issue, because if we have additional monies, we could put it aside for later payment, let it draw interest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that could be addressed that way, with the intent that the commission would like to see us pay and put away more money than what the payment's gonna be on an annual basis, but that might not be every year.
Yeah, yeah, and getting back to your comment about having the interest rate float at some point in time, I think what we would probably want to do is, if a bank proposed a structure like that, and if that was the best, overall interest rate or bid that you got, what we'd probably want to do is make sure that the county had the ability, before that rate reset, to pay it off if you wanted to in whole, so that if at that time interest rates were lower, you could refinance it maybe with a new fixed rate.
Maybe the tax lid will be off.
Maybe the tax lid will be off. Do something that would avoid you having to incur the possibility that your payment might jump up a lot when that interest rate changes. At least give you some options.
So what interest rate are you using? As I'm calculating without knowing, the interest rate I'm looking at on the 10-year that would come to, and again, I don't know the interest rate, I'm coming up with about $410,000 in interest over the course of 10 years. Does that sound like on the same page?
I assumed a rate of 3.5%. And I'm hoping that would be a little bit high, but I was just trying to be somewhat conservative to come up with a payment. And so I would think, 3.5%, I would think that would result in about $400,000 interest over the 10 years. Yeah.
In 15 years, of course, would be considerably higher.
Right, yeah.
And we need to also keep in mind that the payments of this lease purchase would be also subject to the tax lid.
Yeah, so to the extent that you didn't have user fees coming in to cover the whole amount, then that incremental, the difference between your user charges and the lease payment, that amount you'd have to make sure fell within your legal state spending cap.
Yes.
And we can also, of course, it's been a couple of years now since we've addressed user fees. Under the next budget cycle, we can certainly look at that again. So that's another option.
If you're still under the impression that we can't pursue a bond on this one, right?
Not under the.
Bond would require an election, and so the commissioners did not opt to go that way initially. I believe we could do a bond. You presented all of that information last year.
That would be the option, a bond either backed by sales tax or property taxes would both the other options, but both of those would require public referendum.
Any other questions, Dave?
Well, we'll work, hopefully get that resolution for you to consider your next meeting. I won't be able to attend that meeting, but if any questions, I guess, should come up between now and then, I guess if you want to go through Tina, and I could try to address those. Would you want to do the 15 years? Is that what you were thinking?
I think we should, look at 15 years, my own personal opinion. Commission?
Of course, you know where I stand, so I'm going to say.
I know where
I
Diane's
don't want to
at.
look at 15 years, no.
I mean, I threw out 10 and 15 because I think those would be the most attractive to bidders, but you could do it 12 years, you could do it 13. It's whatever term you want it to be.
So in your opinion, is to pay it off out of our funds, is that just a totally stupid thing to do?
Out of your reserves?
Well, no, I'm not saying out of our reserves, I'm saying we have other baskets that we can get some money out if we put our heads together. I'm saying those monies.
I think the concern with that, and I haven't been involved in all of those conversations, but I think the concern with doing that is that, facing the tax lid and restrictions on your ability to raise revenue, my guess is that unless there are is some sort of legislative relief to the tax lid. In the future, as your budget grows, there's gonna be more and more pressure on your operating budget, causing you to want to use some of those reserves to keep your spending for operational purposes. And I'm a little concerned that if you were to spend some of your cash right now on this project, you won't have as much flexibility going forward to address the tax lid as you would if you just kept those funds.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand that theory, because we have all the money, I've heard it for 3 years now, that our reserves and stuff are for a rainy day. And no matter what we do, we don't ever hit that rainy day. We always have to continue to borrow. And in just regular household and banking, that is not what we teach people to do. You know, you save for a rainy day, something like this comes up, and if at all possible, you pay for it first, because you're gonna be $400,000 ahead, roughly, over the course of 10 years, if we just bite the bullet and do it. And I also would say, and my theory is, the more we make payments, we're strapping ourselves into for less cash to use, because we have those payments to make. So I just don't get the idea of that, oh my God, interest rates are low, we have to go buy a new car now. I mean, I just don't get that, but that's just me.
No, that is a very good discussion point, and that's something that as a commission you guys have to be comfortable with if you want to pay for it with cash or if you want to finance.
On that roughly 1.8, is there a contingency fund built into that?
I believe so. I mean, normally there is.
Because otherwise, that will grow. It always does.
Let's see. You have the bid tab there. I don't see that contingency here.
So we could be potentially looking at about 2 million more.
And that's one of the things that we need to get ironed out before you adopt that resolution is how much do you want to borrow? Is it 1.8 or is it something different than that?
If I might say something, Randy Purdue did mention to me, he looked at something like 100,000 more for unseen things.
Yeah, generally that's included when the
Yeah.
engineer provides a recommendation for approval.
Right.
They have that already in there, and I don't see that that's in
No,
here.
he just,
Okay.
And that would be if you did want to put a contingency in the budget, you could either finance that contingency or you could just plan on paying that from surplus funds. And again, if you wanted to, instead of borrowing for the full amount, if you wanted to borrow for part of it, you could do that too. But once the resolution that you would adopt would establish the maximum authority that you would have, the maximum borrowing authority that you would have to do the lease for. So $1.8, $2 million. The actual amount that you borrowed, it could be less than that. That would be something that we would have to determine though, when we were sending out information to the banks to get bids from them. And so we would probably want to determine that within the next month.
When are the bids, how long are the bids good for?
Probably 30 days.
Probably 30 days.
And really, you should not take action to approve one of these bids until you have your financing figured out.
Yeah.
That you could be in violation of the
We
Kansas
don't
cash
want to go
basis
ahead and
budget.
approve the low bid on the transfer station until we know we can pay for it.
Yeah, and I think that legally, I think once you sat through the notice and protest period, you then have the statutory authority to do the lease. I think at that point, legally, you could accept the bid and not have a cash basis law violation. If you can afford to wait a little bit longer until you've actually got the bids for the lease itself and the financing secured, that might just be a little bit more of a margin of safety for you. I don't see that there would be any issue I would imagine, I know you've already talked to one of the area banks who expressed an interest in providing the lease. I would think we would get at least a couple more bids, but you might, if you can afford to wait until you've got the lease bids in hand before you accept the construction bids, that would probably be the safest path.
Any other questions of Dave while he's here? If not, we have your number.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be getting that resolution, hopefully John will get that resolution over to you for
Okay.
consideration next week.
Okay.
Hey, bud.
Okay, I'm here, Department to transfer $5,000 from the Noxious Weed General Fund to the Noxious Weed Capital Outlay Fund. If you guys so approve.
This is a budgeted transfer that we try to do every year if there's money available in the week.
We need to do that in the form of a motion.
Typically, yes, you do.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion then that we do a $5,000 transfer from the 2019 Noxious Weed General Fund to the 2019 Noxious Weed Capital Outlay Fund.
Seconded.
Seconded by Dave. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
I had to redo the form this year.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Tina, were you gonna, you want me to bring it up or?
I think that Bud would like to request an executive session to discuss personnel performance. With him leaving, there's some things that need to be addressed within the department. And so if you could hold a short executive session for personnel performance with Bud and I believe Brandy Ankenman. And then you can come back out and take care of anything else in open session after that.
How much time do you need, Bud?
Oh, 10 minutes, probably.
Okay.
5 minutes. It's not gonna take long.
Well, we'll just say, that'd be 12 minutes until 11 o'clock, so I'll move that we recession to executive session in order to discuss personnel performance under item number 1, personnel matters and non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-431-9B with the commission, Bud and Brandy. Until 11 o'clock and we'll resume an open session. Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Sure. There's a few and far between.
They are.
They don't have the greeters anymore, they have the, well, yeah, they do, depending on which story.
Some of them, yes.
Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we name Brandy Ankenman as interim weed HHW transfer station recycling director. Starting at pay band 7 at $2,950 a month.
Effective,
Any other discussion? Effective, the date of Bud's retirement, which is November the 20th.
So would you do it the day, that's your last day, so would you do it on the 21st?
It'd be effective the 21st.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brandon. Good
Um,
luck.
I don't know if she will need this. I checked with the Department of Ag on what needed to be done. I guess if you want to sign this now and have it ready in case she needs to send it in, it's a nomination form for the Department of Ag. When I contacted the Scott Marsh at the Department of Ag, he said nothing needed to be done before, it would happen afterwards. So we can wait on that.
Does that take full commission signature?
Yeah, it's full commission signature on that nomination form.
What's your
Plus her,
recommendation?
plus,
Only 3 lines.
I had to do that 5 years ago almost, so.
Generally, we would do that once the,
New interim-
I'm sorry, I haven't seen the
Interim
form.
director
Go ahead
in
and
place.
pass it.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know. what-
Usually, we do notify the Department of Ag.
Okay, we will do that once Brandy's in her position.
Okay. She will be able to find out more when she contacts.
Okay, and this does have the date of the appointment and everything, so I think it's appropriate to do that actually today. I can add the 2 additional lines.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I thought, well, can we redo that and get the 2 added in there?
Glad to see Colby Community College on there.
Long time ago, but yes.
It's been a while since I've been out there.
I think what we had sent when we did Bud's was just a notification letter that he had been appointed. So this is just a little bit different. We're gonna do it all fancy.
You have enough room? Can I get it moved down further?
There you go.
I'm good. You ain't bit too hard yet.
Because you might start swinging.
No?
So,
Well, but I really appreciate all your service.
I appreciate working with you guys and what
Good work.
you've done to help me. And
Very good.
Yes, we would, from the commission as a whole, I think we want to
Oh, yeah.
thank you and congratulate you on your retirement.
Thank you.
Best wishes.
Well, I'm enjoying myself.
You do it.
For 55 more years.
Yep.
For my wife, I was going to pass away at 100.
Okay,
not
I
miles
just
per hour,
added
right?
2 more lines, so if everybody can just find a line to sign
No, my
on,
car
that'd
won't
be
go
great.
that fast. It'll go 105.
Sure, it's not in
And I wasn't driving at the time, my nephew was.
Two lines above my name or 2 lines below.
So what's on?
It's planning and zoning. And then those are the 3 packets we went through today.
Okay.
Yeah. I've had a busy week. Up above?
Yeah.
I think Tina wants it for a copy.
Yeah, I'll send it in on behalf of, I'll send it to Mr. Roach.
Yes.
It's just like yours.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Yep.
Good luck, Brandy.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
God bless.
I'll see you later.
Yes, you will.
Good retirement for you.
Okay, we do have a little time. I don't know if Rebecca's available.
I can check.
Maybe since she's close, she'd be available. We can move on.
Okay.
sometimes we run into that too.
Well, you're early.
Yeah. I seen there, I know we had a truck, orange truck, then we were running.
Rebecca is coming in. We're gonna make it.
Roomy.
Morning, Rebecca.
Morning.
Go ahead when you're ready.
All right. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to the table to you guys. And since most people don't necessarily know what the Register of Deeds office does, I thought I'd kind of give you an overview of what actually happens in our office. So documents come in, anything that affects the land. So that's deeds, mortgages, releases, leases of any kind, affidavits. We also do like death certificates, affidavits of deaths, affidavits of equitable interest. All of that comes through my office. And we're pretty much the foundation of what happens in the county. Because once we record that information, we scan it twice a week into our computer system. And then we send that information to the clerk's office, where the tax statements are prepared. We also send it to the appraiser's office, where they do the mapping. Marion County is kind of unique in how well the offices work together. The clerk's office, the treasurer's office, appraiser's office, mapping, planning and zoning. We all work very closely together to get everything as right as we can before it goes out. Doesn't happen very often, but when someone comes in with a problem, it really doesn't matter which office they go to. We all work together to solve that problem. So the deeds office is the foundation of the county. The deeds office is also really the foundation of the economy. If you want to buy the lot next door, they're going to come in and check the ownership on that lot. If you want to sell your lot, they're going to come in and check your lot, make sure you have the right to sell it. They're going to make sure there are no federal tax liens, no state liens, nothing against your property. So without the Register of Deeds office, even the economy can't function very well. So our office is very, very important, and we generally hide out in the corner and don't make waves. But we do whatever we can to help people who come into the office find out whatever they need to know. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about a little bit is technology. As you know, Microsoft has made it so that Windows 10 is going to be the only unit that's supported. We had a lot of Windows 7 in my office, and so we have gradually been replacing those. My computer has been replaced, and all of the bugs are worked out, so it is working. The computer that we scan the documents into the computer system has been revamped. It is now working. The big problem that we have right now is the one that we do the microfilm with. That machine is about 10 years old, and we're not sure it's going to like Windows 10. So Lloyd is working, trying to figure out a way to make a patch or to do something, because that machine is not very common anymore, so replacing it may be an issue. The one we bought 10 years ago was around $7,000. So I do have funds in the tech fund if I have to replace it, but we're hoping that we won't have to do that. So we're staying busy with deeds, mortgages. We've had a little bit of oil and gas coming in, lots of wind, and then making lots and lots of copies. And my faithful copy machine is still working. So, any questions?
Very good, very well said.
Appreciate the overview for all of us, especially the new members.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Travis? Okay, Travis. go ahead.
I'm early.
Yeah, we're
You guys are
early.
running ahead of schedule, that's wonderful. All right, welcome aboard. Hope to work well with you folks, with all of you, and continue what so far has been worked very well between my department and the commission. So, really all I have is an update. I have a gentleman, an employee by the name of Luke Steele, who did active duty. He's a paramedic on our department. Did active duty for 10 months and is ready to come back to work. We had filled the position, but kept a position open for him within the budget. So no big changes there, other than Luke is coming back. Actually, he worked Thursday for me last week. I didn't plan on him starting back, but we had a gentleman call in sick. Luke was willing to work. Already on payroll. I think everything has been pretty smooth, him coming back. We're gonna ease him into working with another paramedic to make sure his skill set's where it needs to be. He was doing some medical stuff while serving in the military. So other than getting back and making sure our protocols and any changes that have been made over the last year, but we'll get him eased into it and he'll be up and running shortly. So that's what I have. In the grand scheme, I hope nobody quits and we can maintain that level. The goal at budget time was to increase staffing in 2021. And again, because I can absorb this into the budget, I think we're okay to stay that way if the commission feels that way. So, until anything else comes up.
Volume been keeping up too?
Do what?
Your volumes?
Yeah, we're right on pace for where we were last year, right around 1,400 calls per year. So
still a lot of transfers.
A lot of transfers. Working well with the hospital. We got a couple, both hospitals, but a couple issues we're working through now on some transfer stuff and specific types of patients. But I think we're doing fine working through that. We're gonna do what's best for everybody. So, questions, comments?
Any questions from the new commissioners?
Okay. Well, that's all I have.
We had on the building in Hillsborough. Still looking?
I'm looking. I would like to set up a meeting with the administrator and probably the mayor over in Hillsborough. I know there's been some question about taking a building off a tax roll over there, and they aren't excited about that. One of the challenges that I see, we hire somebody, we bring them into workforce, and we stick them in an apartment. It's a lot better than it was when I got here, but it's just not necessarily that professional image that we like to portray and use. We could use a building for sure. I don't know that something needs to be pushed through real fast. I would like to see it in the near future. And again, I think that we get that dialogue with the people over in Hillsborough. I know they had some stuff in the plans. It's been in the plans for quite a while. I don't know where that's at, but I'll certainly set a meeting up with them and make sure we're playing well with others. So
Well, go ahead, Julie.
Just coming from there, I know that the 5-year development plan has started
Okay.
to, I'm gonna be speaking out of turn here, but
No.
yeah, there's, the conversation has begun, and to where they would like to see a campus of all emergency services.
And I think on my side that 5 years would be a little further out than I would want to be, but I would certainly be willing to, with the support of the commission, be able to work something. Or if we were to do a building, maybe we could work something out when that campus was developed and still have some skin in the game.
The plan could be there. She just could go ahead with you.
Yeah, but again, I think it would look good on our part to be on that campus at some point. But if it's too far out in the future, we just build that into our plan as well. I think we can work together and do that. So, yeah, that's where that's at.
Just for Dave's information, we house at no charge.
We do house at no charge, other than the apartment. And if anybody'd like to go look where we're housing, and some of it's twofold. The reason that I would like to see us on our own, or not necessarily on our own. I mean, just take that out of the fire station, still working with the volunteers over there. But when we back the ambulance in, we have to fold one mirror in, and I've implemented we don't back without a spotter, because we were doing damage to brand new ambulances trying to fit it in there. It's an older building, we're bigger ambulances than we used to be, and that's certainly a challenge to get in and out. And and no room to work around the ambulance, so.
Do you need some backup cameras? Just
It has a backup camera, which they certainly use.
and tweeters.
The service I came from, we had backup cameras, but we just didn't rely on those 100%. We still wanted somebody behind it as a fail-safe. So yeah, we try not to do any damage. Pretty high priority for us. So.
The littlest bit of damage is worth a $200 backup camera. So.
Right, yeah, the cameras are on there. We just don't use them exclusively. So, yeah, so would still like to move forward with discussions there and see where we can go. So, good. All right.
Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, that was the last item on the agenda until we were scheduled for a lunch break. We do have a department head evaluation scheduled at 1 o'clock today. The commission do we know if Randy's gonna make it today at all?
I have not heard from him this morning. I can check.
But it would be up to the commission whether we would go ahead and continue that after lunch.
We can always.
I mean, I'm open to it at least for a certain amount of time.
I have no problem.
Okay, getting it cleaned up and handled.
Okay.
I mean, do we participate as if we're not?
Yeah, you're on the commission. So instead of waiting until the end of that session, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment at this time.
Well, I would like to, last 2 weeks ago, I asked Kent and Randy about if they were for wind turbines in the Flint Hills. And my question was in the minutes, but I didn't get any response that was in the minutes. Kind of got a dance around on that. And so I'd kind of like to have the answer to that on record.
All I can say is that at the time I told you there was a moratorium on. If there's not a moratorium, I would certainly.
So you don't consider the Flint Hills? I know a moratorium, but the Flint Hills are more. I mean, that's a man-made.
I'm talking about the Flint Hills moratorium that is east of Highway 77.
So you don't recognize, like where I would live, or looking at south of town here, you don't recognize that as being in the Flint Hills.
Well, when the state put that moratorium on it,
evidently
they didn't.
Well, they did that for ease. It was close. It was a man-made boundary. It wasn't a God-made boundary. I said it's easy. It's obvious. You just go south of town, a little east, south, look. I mean, if you just look, you can see that, Ken.
Have you addressed that with your state representative?
I've addressed it with you several times, and you know how it makes me feel in the Flint Hills. You know, I hope you understand it.
I appreciate where you're coming from.
Well, I wish you'd appreciate where I live, and all of us around the areas would too, and you'd be a little more sensitive to us. But evidently, you don't recognize that as being the Flint Hills. Then, I guess is my question.
I'm not saying I don't recognize it as the Flint Hills, Tom. I'm saying the area in the moratorium that has been specified by the state.
Then it's okay for you.
They set the regulations.
That's okay for you, though. I mean, personally.
If there was no moratorium on there, I would certainly look at it as maybe a potential. You already have one down the Flint Hills at Beaumont.
Yeah. But every county around here doesn't want them in the Flint Hills. You can't buy property. You won't be able to sell property and stuff.
Well, the state said that, so.
Well, I'm just asking. That's kind of personal, but that seems like you're really biased, or it doesn't matter to you. I guess it doesn't matter. No, it don't. I guess.
I'm trying to do what is best for all of
yes,
all of Marion County.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'm trying to do. Well, me too, but it's more than just greed.
Okay, we're still open to public comment. Anyone else? We have a limited audience here.
Hey, I did hear back from Randy. He is planning to be here for the afternoon portion.
Okay, then we'll plan on going ahead with that at 1 o'clock. So if there isn't any other public comment, we will go ahead and recess for lunch and meet back at 1 o'clock. Next item on the agenda is department head evaluations. So we're gonna make a motion, we recess into executive session in order to discuss personnel performance, department head personnel performance, pursuant to KSA 75-431-9B, matters of personnel matters of non-elected personnel with the commission. We start out with an hour, till 2 o'clock. We'll resume an open session.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
The first 5-0 to record.
There you go. Okay, out of executive session, no action taken. We'll move, we recession to executive session in order to discuss department head evaluations under item number 1, matters of personnel of non-elected personnel matters of non-elected personnel pursuant to KSA 75-431-9B with the commission until 3 o'clock.
You don't wanna go to 3:30? Cause you got.
He has to leave his.
Well, go 3:15. I have to be going out of here by 3:15, so.
That settles
So
it.
3:15?
3:15. Or is that gonna work for anybody else need to get going?
Yeah, I got some, that's why I might get out here and get, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to that effect, go to 3:15. Dare second?
Second.
Second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so.
Take a second today, so if you haven't, it's your turn.
Well, no, I've made a couple of.
Okay.
We on?
I think
Okay,
so.
out of executive session, no action taken. That was the last agenda item for the day, so I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote. Got it.
All right. Jeez.